Hey, this is Eric, and this video is one in a series of videos on Google Classroom. This video covers how to create and use rubrics to grade student work in Google Classroom. You are probably already familiar with what a rubric is, but if not, a rubric is an evaluation tool that uses several criteria, rather than just one score, to assess a student's skills or performance on a continuum of how well they have mastered those skills. A rubric can be a very helpful tool for you and your students. It lets students know what is expected and provides detailed assessment feedback, and it also helps guide your instruction and encourages consistency when grading. There are many tools for creating and using rubrics, but thankfully this feature is also built right into Google Classroom. Let's see how this works. First, let's say we're creating an assignment. For our example, we will have a photosynthesis project where the student will be writing a report to explain the process in their own words. We can add a rubric to this assignment by clicking on the Rubric button in the bottom right-hand corner. When we do this, we will see that we have three different options for adding a rubric. The first option is to create a rubric from scratch. This will open a window where we can create our rubric. First, we will add one of the criteria that we will use to evaluate the student work. Next, we will set the performance levels for that criteria. This will include the point values, the title, and the description. We can then add more performance levels to a criterion by clicking on the plus button. We can then click the button to add more criteria and continue this process until the entire rubric has been completed. When done, we will click the Save button in the top right-hand corner to attach this rubric to the assignment. Although that is a lot of work, thankfully after we have made a rubric once, we are able to reuse that rubric in other assignments. Let's remove this rubric to demonstrate how that works. When we click on the Rubric button, we can now choose the second option, which is Reuse Rubric. This opens up a window where we can choose the class and the assignment from which we wish to copy an existing rubric. After we click the Select button, the rubric will be attached to this assignment. A third option for adding a rubric to the assignment is to import the rubric from Google Sheets. Using a template, you can create and share your rubric ahead of time in Google Sheets. You can get your own copy of this template at bit.ly/classroom-rubric-template. You're allowed to edit the template as needed to add and remove criteria and performance levels. When the template is ready, we can use it by clicking on the Rubric button in the assignment and then choosing our third option, Import from Sheets. This will open a window where we can search for and select our rubric template. When we click the Add button, the rubric will be imported into the standard rubric editor that we saw earlier. We can make any final changes if needed, and then click Save to attach it to this assignment. Now that the rubric is attached to the assignment, the last thing we'll want to do is double check the point value for the assignment. The point total for the assignment does not necessarily have to equal the points for the rubric. They can be the same, but if they're not, Google Classroom will take the score from the rubric and scale it proportionally to generate the score for the assignment. For example, a 12 out of 16 on the rubric would become a 75 out of 100 on the assignment. You can always override this later, but now is a good time to adjust the assignment point value if needed. Let's go ahead and push out the assignment so we can see how this looks for the student and for the teacher. First, let's see what this looks like for the student. When a student opens their assignment, they can click on the rubric link to see the full details of how they are going to be graded. This can be very helpful for a student to be self-reflective and to edit their work before they turn it in. Now let's say the students have turned in their work. Let's see what this looks like for the teacher as we grade with the rubric. When I open up my student's work, I will now see the rubric on the right-hand side of the screen. I can choose values on the rubric in several ways. First, I can click on the criteria to expand the different performance levels and then choose the level that I wish to assign. Or secondly, I can hover above the performance level boxes under each criteria and then click on the level that I want to assign. Or third, I can click in the score box and type in the point value that I want. When finished, the points from all the criteria will be combined into an overall rubric score and will also be scaled to the overall grade for the assignment. Again, if needed, you are allowed to override this assignment grade, which may be helpful if the scales are not the same. Finally, let's return the assignment to the student to see how it looks for them. When the student clicks to view their assignment, they will now see their overall assignment grade, as well as their rubric grade, and the individual scores for each of the rubric criteria. So those are the basics for creating and using rubrics in Google Classroom. Check out the other videos in this series for more training on how to use Google Classroom. The full list can be found at ti.apps.spark.org.